Hello, welcome to Cinephile Entertainment. I'm a Cinephile critic and today I'll be reviewing this movie. I have made more money out of gold than all the great train robbers. King of Thieves. So King of Thieves is a film directed by James Marsh and stars Michael Caine as Brian, Charlie Cox as Basil, Jim Broadbent as Terry, Ray Woolstone as Danny, and Paul Whitehouse as Carl. So The King of Thieves is basically centered around the Hatton Garden heist that happened, I think it was April 2015. Basically have the reenactment, but in a film way instead of a documentary, of what led up to it and how they did it. So in England, if I'm correct, it is the largest heist that has ever happened in the country, in the UK. And it's funny because when this first hit news, I was looking at it and I was sitting back. I think I was probably drinking a cup of tea at that time, don't quote me on that. And I was looking at this and I was like, oh my God, these people, they cannot wait to do a film about it. And yes, I was correct. And you know, just 2 years and a bit later, we are here. They made a film about it. I knew it wouldn't take them long. They were dying to get their hands on this because, you know, they knew the potential that what this film can make. So here we go, King of Thieves. King of Thieves is centered, as I said, around the Hatton Garden heist that happened back in April 2015. And what you have is you have these men have some type of connection of how to get in. They sort of worked their way. They knew the best route to get that money. You've got these people who are living in their grey stage of life and they think that they need one more heist. They need one more hit to remind them of the good old days. And so the cast and crew and hair really works together. Michael Caine is the main person, but I would say that the meat and the potatoes of this story is really Terry and Danny. Those are the two people that really carry the film, I will say, because there is sections and times when Brian is not on screen, but when he is on screen, he's miserable and he's funny. So it all does work. So what you have is a group of friends coming together. They've done jobs back in the past. They've known each other for literally the extended part of their lives. And they decide to do this heist. Who brings them is Basil. And that's the only person that most of them don't know. Only Brian knows, which is Michael Caine's character. And Basil is played by Charlie. And so Basil, he is the guy who with the connection to get them in. It's actually his plan in the first place. And it's funny because in reality, I'm not going to say that. So what you have is you have them normal lives, this plan being hatched, Brian getting everyone together, then them getting everything sorted out, them doing the heist, and then what follows on afterwards. And what I would say is, what I liked about this film is this film was not investigation heavy. So the police has a presence in this film, but they are not the main thing. And I like the fact that they kept the police presence and the investigations to a minimal. How they did the investigation in this particular film, I absolutely love it. You knew what was going on. It was very simple with expositions, but not in terms of talking, but in terms of scene setup. They've done it in such a way that everyone can catch on what is going on. How the intelligence service figured out who was the people involved in this crime is really interesting, and it really comes from people not thinking like a criminal from their home to the job. It was just one thing that literally got all of them, and it is really interesting to see that you have these characters, and when I'm telling you they're characters, they are characters. Each of them have their own personality, and their personality shines in this film, and that's kind of what makes this film bearable and watchable, apart from it being based on a true story. It's really funny and how they decided this particular job. Their audacity is just, it's amazing. Characters really sell you on this film. The way how it's done, that directed. What also stitches everything together is the dialogue. The dialogue in this film works. It's intense when it needs to be intense. It's suspicious when it needs to be suspicious. It's funny when it needs to be funny. But it's not funny in terms of people telling jokes. It's funny because what then tends to happen because of this character or that character in a certain situation, and that's where it becomes funny. And also the dialogue in this film, I like the way how it was written because it sounds like what those types of people would say if they're from that part of London or that part of England. And so the dialogue really fit the characters. When it was certain characters, it was much more gritty, it was much more dangerous. In other characters, a bit more lightheaded, a bit suspicious, whatever. So the way how they integrated the dialogue with the characters, I felt they done that very well. What also brings it together is the way how each character interacts with each other, how the heist happens and what happens in the third act, which is quite funny, and the suspicion that comes between all of them. As they say, there's no honor among thieves. The way how this film was put together, the casting, it really does work. One of the things I would say is most of the time we have older films, or you have films towards the particular population that is elderly, they tend to be a bit bland, I would say, a bit soft. And this film isn't. And I feel that it's very interesting that it took a real event to happen in order for, 5, 6, 7 elderly men to make it on screen and have a film about that. I thought that that's very interesting. One way is the Hatton Garden job just keeps on giving. The way how the story is woven within that, it makes it more effective and enticing. Because the story is not so story heavy, it's not information heavy at any point. It's very straightforward, simple. You have that time for the audience to get used to the characters and understand each individual characters and what they're like and how they move. That's why the dialogue fits well with this as well, because we understand the characters, we understand that they're individuals, but they're also working together. Like life, you see the transitions of got this job, the nerves, let's do this, they do it, they come out the other side, and then what takes place afterwards. It's human nature. So this is what that film is, and I feel that it's directed very well. Oh my god, one thing I will say as well, the music in this film, yes please. The music in this film, the soundtrack to this film, oh my god, it was fantastic. Jazz, the symphony, oh my god, it was so good. If you do have an ear and you're able to hear, listen out for the music in this film, because the music in this film is fantastic and it will just give you that little sweetness to your soul. I mean, in the third act, even though I think that the third act is interesting, that's also where it dips a little bit in terms of pacing, because of the investigation. That investigation piece needs to happen. But it's not, as I said, it's not heavy investigation. The third act is not dedicated to the investigation. You still see the characters, don't see them all together as you used to. So that's kind of why the third act, it kind of dips a bit, because the characters are not really all in the same place. They're sort of at different locations, different points. Some of them meet together, but not all of them. Don't get the banter between all of them as you did first act and some parts in the second act. So that's why the third act slightly dips a bit. However, that is not a bad thing, and this film it's fun. The music is fantastic. Or that it's quite sad that we had to wait for a realistic event to happen to see older people in films like this. So that's why I'm going to rate this film as E for entertaining. I thought that this was a well done, well executed film about heists that actually happened. As again, fact is stranger than fiction. Who would have thought that these old men thought, you know what, I need to do one more job. They thought it and they did it. So just to tell anyone, you can do anything. But there is consequences. Yeah, that's my view and opinions of this film. Have you seen this film? What did you think of it? And thank you for watching my review. If you liked what you saw, then please click subscribe at the bottom. If you're thinking, darling, I just need to see a bit more what you're doing, then hopefully I will see you again. And remember, until next time, keep safe. Bye.